All right, welcome back to the channel. So Shakur Stevenson pops out the top in his last fight, but it doesn't seem like he's going to get an Oscar Valdez fight and may actually be forced into a Vasyl Lomachenko fight next. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. So I'm still flying a little bit high on the Shakur Stevenson win over JAMEL Herring that took place last Saturday, and we're going to do a video about that now, talking about what's coming up next for him. Shakur Stevenson is saying that he probably believes, and I think Bob Arum also said something to this regard, that a fight between Shakur Stevenson and Vasyl Lomachenko is probably the next likely big fight for Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson is still at 130 pounds and really should be fighting Oscar Valdez for a unification fight for the WBO 130-pound belt and the WBC 130-pound belt. That would be what would take place if everything was right in the world. But according to Shakur Stevenson, he's saying that Bob Arum is going to protect Oscar Valdez from him and not give him a chance to win that fight, and to have that fight. And I got to tell you, man, more than likely that's gonna be what happens. That makes a lot of sense for the way that putting yourself in the mind of Bob Arum and Matchroom, and Top Rank. It makes sense that Shakur Stevenson would not fight Oscar Valdez next. And would be more likely to fight Vasyl Lomachenko. And the reason that I say that is not necessarily because Bob Arum just has some problem with Shakur Stevenson and doesn't like Shakur Stevenson, but Bob Arum and Top Rank's job is to have as many they want to have as many champions as they can, and they want to make as much money off of every fighter as they can. And honestly, man, putting Shakur Stevenson in the ring with Oscar Valdez at this point in time, I think more than likely Top Rank's matchmakers know exactly what's going to happen in that fight, and that is that Shakur Stevenson is going to mop the floor with Oscar Valdez. And, you know, usually when I say, like, I'll say who I think is going to win a fight, before the JAMEL Herring fight with Shakur Stevenson, if you'd asked me who I thought was going to win the Oscar Valdez fight with Shakur Stevenson, I would have said, obviously, I would have still said Shakur Stevenson, but I would have said, yeah, I think it's like, it's a 55-45 fight, or probably not that close, 60-40 fight, something like that. But after seeing the way that Shakur Stevenson fought JAMEL Herring and watching the Conceição fight with Oscar Valdez, I'm more like 80-20 for Shakur Stevenson, and I'm leaning heavily towards a very punishing defeat by Oscar Valdez. Oscar Valdez has a lot of grit and is used to and takes a lot of punishment in the first half of the fight. The difference being, though, with guys like Conceição and maybe even guys like Berchelt, that over time he's going to be able to wear those guys down, and he may come back and win the later half of the fight, right? But with looking at the way Shakur Stevenson fought JAMEL Herring and the approach that he took to that fight, if he takes that same approach to Oscar Valdez is going to be so swollen and so cut up by the time he gets to around 9 or 10 that there's not going to be any late rallying for him. And what you're probably going to do is there's a good chance you're going to ruin Oscar Valdez with a fight with Shakur Stevenson, especially if Shakur feels even more comfortable in the pocket with Valdez than he did with JAMEL Herring, because he can win rounds fighting on the outside with Oscar Valdez, and he can walk Oscar Valdez down. I just don't think there's anything Oscar Valdez can do with that kid. And so from Bob Arum's standpoint, it's probably going to be like, let Oscar Valdez stay at 130 pounds, try to push Shakur Stevenson up to 140, up to 135 pounds, where right now, all of the belts held by Top Rank are held by Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo Lopez is not that long for 135 pounds, maybe a fight, maybe 2 fights left. And he said he's going to go to 140 pounds. So then you'd have Shakur Stevenson as the young star at 135 pounds trying to pick up the belts at 135 pounds. And that would leave Bob Arum with belts at 130 and a belts at 135 pounds and 140 pounds, because right now Josh Taylor, who's a top-ranked fighter, also holds all the belts there, and he's going to be looking to move up to 147, so that leaves room for Teofimo Lopez, right? So if you just envision everybody just jumping up one and going to the next weight class, right, I think that would make sense for Bob Arum and Top Rank, to the extent that they're trying to protect their investments that they've got in these younger fighters. Vasyl Lomachenko, I think at this stage in his career with Shakur Stevenson, I think that he is more than likely, Shakur Stevenson is going to more than likely beat Vasyl Lomachenko in a fight that I think will make Shakur Stevenson a better fighter. I don't think it's going to be, I don't think it's something where he's going to go in there and blow away Vasyl Lomachenko or anything like that. But it's just the southpaw matchup with Shakur and Vasyl Lomachenko. Vasyl Lomachenko's advanced age and also the way that Vasyl Lomachenko fights. I think that the way he switches angles and all of that stuff and the quickness that he has and the punch selection, I think that is so much that the Shakur Stevenson's skill level is more than enough to neutralize a lot of that stuff. And if those guys get into like exchanges or whatever, I could see Shakur Stevenson, the younger, probably more fresh guy, landing a lot more shots on Vasyl Lomachenko than expected, right? Now, again, I got a lot of respect for Vasyl Lomachenko, so I'm not going to say it's a foregone conclusion that Shakur Stevenson beats Vasyl Lomachenko. I'm not going to say that because, Vasyl has shown me a lot in his career, and I think he's got a significant amount left in the tank. But I would favor Shakur over him. And honestly, I might think it might be a little bit more difficult for Shakur to beat Vasyl Lomachenko than it was Teofimo, because there's not that one big shot that may hold Vasyl Lomachenko at bay in the early rounds, allowing Shakur Stevenson, just kind of follow behind him and collect points. So, I just what Shakur Stevenson is saying about protecting Oscar Valdez from him, I think is probably right. Shakur Stevenson said he wouldn't mind fighting Vasyl Lomachenko next. Vasyl Lomachenko doesn't really have anybody else to fight, since Teofimo Lopez said that he's not given the rematch. So I think that may match up. Now, as far as him fighting Shakur Stevenson saying he wants to fight Gervonta Davis down the line, that I do think when you clear all these guys out at 135 pounds, even if it winds up creeping into 140, that those are going to be the two guys that you have left, right? I think that, and I said this in my live stream, I always knew Shakur was definitely on par with Teofimo Lopez and Devin Haney. I thought it obviously better than Ryan Garcia. But I really wasn't sure, whether or not he was better than them, or whether I would favor him against them. But now, after seeing that JAMEL, that he could fight in that style, and I'm telling you, it's not just the fact that he beat JAMEL Herring. So people that want to come back and say, oh, JAMEL Herring is a limited fighter, this, that, or the other thing. No, what I mean is that he went at JAMEL Herring and he fought the fight that JAMEL Herring wanted to fight. And that was pretty much a chest-to-chest or shoulder-to-shoulder inside fight where JAMEL Herring did not have to go looking for him. Shakur Stevenson was right there and beat him at mid-range, beat him at close range, and showed that he had that skill set. And that's a skill set that I had not seen from Shakur Stevenson before. So now that I look at everything else that I knew he could do, and then I see that he has that very big piece in the middle of his game, now I'm like, no, more than likely, if he fights Teofimo Lopez, I think he'll beat Teofimo Lopez. If he fights Devin Haney, I'm pretty sure he'll beat Devin Haney. If he can get but I feel like the real good fight for those guys to make is Gervonta Davis, because Gervonta Davis can do that too. Gervonta Davis can fight on the inside. He can fight on the outside. He's a very smart fighter. There's not a tremendous size difference between the two guys. Gervonta probably has a big power advantage over Shakur Stevenson, but even seeing the way that Shakur Stevenson was landing those very precision shots against JAMEL Herring, he was hurting JAMEL Herring. JAMEL Herring isn't somebody that's known to have a glass jaw. But all in all, man, I'm excited about the lightweight division. the junior lightweight or super featherweight division. And I'm really excited about Shakur Stevenson. That's my opinion. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.